This is the Vision with Execution show. My name is Adam Torkildson. I've got an awesome guest here today, Jake Smolarek, who is awesome at helping people create visions. He's got an awesome program called Vision GPS we're going to get into shortly. I love to keep my episodes short and sweet and pack as much punch as I possibly can into each one. So, Jake, thanks for coming. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for having me on your show. I am Jake Smolarek. I am entrepreneur, so I've been entrepreneur for the last 20 years. I'm also a business coach, and I help other entrepreneurs build their businesses or start their own businesses, or start the side hustle. And I help them scale their businesses, and I also help them not to work too many hours, because that's a big mistake a lot of entrepreneurs do, that they instead of running a business, the business is running them.
Yeah, that's very true. I've seen that firsthand. I'm a partner in several different LLCs. Some I've just invested in, so I'm a silent partner, and others I've helped to start. And early on, I learned that if I didn't protect my time religiously and aggressively, other people would take advantage of it. So that's something that all entrepreneurs have to face. It's a major pain point, especially if you're trying to raise a family or have relationships. You cannot let the business take your life over. So
100%.
Fully agreed on that. Jake, where are you from, by the way?
I am from Poland, but I came to the UK over 20 years ago. So I've been living in the UK more than I was living in my own country.
And where do you find a lot of your clients? Are they mostly international, a lot of UK? Like, what's average?
I would say 70% is from the UK and the other 30% is just from all over the world.
And do you speak any other languages?
No, just English and Polish.
Well, that's one more than I speak. So awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, they say that speaking another language is actually a superpower, and I think it is, to be honest.
I would believe that for sure. My son is 18. He's graduating high school this next month, I guess. He's been taking German for 5 years,
Mm.
and uh, it's a requirement to take a language in high school, but not a lot of kids get to use it after they graduate. So it becomes just useless to them at some point. We in Utah, which is where I'm at, our culture is very focused on our religion. So
Mm.
a lot of us are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, otherwise known as Mormons. And at 18, the males in our religion are super duper encouraged to take a 2-year sabbatical and go preach about the church. And they can't decide where they get to go. And once they get there, they have to learn the language of wherever they go
Mm.
on the fly. And hopefully, my son, who's been studying German, gets called somewhere where he can use his language, but you can't ever predict that. But
You
yeah,
never know.
you never know. It's always good to have some of those skills and some of that education. We're big fans of education over here. So tell me, Jake, if you were meeting with a client for the first time, do you typically ask them in that first meeting if they have a vision for themselves? Or,
100%.
okay, awesome.
Always. I will never work with a person who without a vision. Unless it's a person who like really eager to actually work on their vision, even if if they do not have one. But most of my clients, they already have some kind of a vision, and I'm just helping them clarify that vision and then achieve that vision.
Awesome. So we could take this interview one of two ways, and I really don't care which way you want to go, but I want to leave it up to you because I want this to be a platform for you to get your knowledge out there and drop as many awesome nuggets of information as possible. So if you want, we could potentially walk through how you would typically take a client through refining their vision and then how you help them execute on it. Or
Sure.
I could ask you, what is your vision? What is Jake's vision for 2025, and how is Jake going to execute it into a reality? So, what would you prefer?
So I will only concentrate on a small part of my vision because my vision is quite big. I run quite a few businesses, but I will concentrate on a vision for podcasts. That's
Oh,
why I'm here. Okay.
awesome.
So at the beginning of this year, I said to myself, I don't really have New Year's resolutions. Well, maybe I have some, but I don't call them this way because I don't even know one person who actually achieved their New Year's resolutions. But what I said to myself that 2025 for me, it's the theme for 2025 is doing podcasts. And that's what I start doing from basically like 3rd of January. I said to myself that I want to do about 30 smaller podcasts so I can practice doing podcasting, so I can get better, so I can listen to it and I can improve. And then I can improve and improve and improve. I will probably never be another Alex Hormozy, but I can strive and I can try. Um, you know, I will be working with a podcast, not podcast, but like a speech coach as well. I've done some work with a speech coach in the past. It's amazing because they can help you improve. So my vision is to do at least 60 podcasts this year. So it's April. I already done, I think, 18
Nice,
podcasts. So
nice.
that's not bad. Especially that I'm pretty busy person. I run 3 businesses, including coaching business. So I am quite busy to do. So do those podcasts takes time, and I also try to be very professional. So to have like a proper camera, proper microphone, which I do have,
Yep.
just by the way. So yeah, so my vision is to do it, and I'm an action guy. So when I decided, straight away I signed up to Podmatch and another 2 or 3 websites like this, and I started implementing that vision straight away.
What are those other sites, by the way? Because I use Podmatch myself, but I'm always curious about how to get more guests on my show.
So another one is called Matchmaker.fm,
Okay. .fm. Yeah.
and there's
Okay. I've
another
heard of that
2.
one.
I can't remember. I don't have them on this computer. I've got it on my PC. But I've been using Podmatch the most so
Yeah.
far.
Me too.
It's a new website. You're getting used to it. But I also approach people on LinkedIn and I approach people on YouTube as well.
So you're basically approaching as many different podcast channels as you possibly can through as many mediums as you can get your hands on, sounds like. And you've set a goal for yourself. You've got a measurable goal and a time limit. So this year
Correct.
you wanted to do 60 and you're at 18 in the middle of April. So you're on track, if my math is right, to hit that 60. And why do you want to be on podcasts? What's that going to do for you, if anything?
First of all, for so many years, a lot of my customers, they were asking me like, I can't you find I cannot find you anywhere on YouTube. And I was like, yeah, because I'm not really recording anything. Or you should start your own podcast. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I would be the best podcaster on earth. I'm not sure if I would be the best host. And then a lot of people suggested to me, like, you should do podcasts. You have a lot of knowledge. You have a lot of experience. You did a lot of crazy stuff most people would never even try, not even think about. And they've been pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. And because I mostly do one-on-one, and I do occasionally some motivational um, speeches, but mostly I work one-on-one with my clients, and my clients and friends and family then been really pushing me like, yeah, you should start doing it. So I did. I said like, okay, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly.
Got it. So what are some of those crazy things that you mentioned that nobody else would think to do?
Well, for example, when I was 19, I decided like, no, I want to change something in my life, and then I moved to the UK. With okay English. My English wasn't great. It's definitely way better now. So I could communicate. But I was 19. I didn't know anyone here. I just moved, and I said like, I'm going to be successful. I didn't know what success meant at the time, but I had a big vision. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to make loads of money. I know lots of money is not really measurable thing, but I was young and naive. But yeah, I have a vision, a big dream, let's call it. And funny enough, after 20 years, I think I achieved what I wanted. But my vision today is completely different vision than it was 20 years ago. Um,
What's your overall vision? Could you actually recite it right now?
yeah, I mean, one of my, you see, I've got a lovely framework which I call the Vision GPS.
Awesome. Okay, here we go.
And a vision is something that we want. We can call it a dream. I sometimes say it's like a destination. Your vision is your destination, and the GPS is the thing that will take you there. The GPS is an acronym from goals, planning process, not just the plan, that's crucial, and S is for systems. And when you have all of them, including vision, if you have all those four things, you will achieve your vision. If you will miss one of those or two, you're not going to achieve it. As simple as that. Because we must have, first of all, a vision, but then vision is big. Interesting thing with regards to the vision that is that vision is like getting to the top of the mountain. Once you get there, suddenly you see, oh my God, there's more mountains over there. There's more things that I can achieve, right? So vision is something that, funny enough, you will never catch it. You will never achieve because it will be changing all the time. But you will be achieving your goals. That's why the first letter in the GPS is G. We need to have goals, long-term goals, short-term goals, medium-term goals. We need to have a lot of those goals. Then we need to have a planning process in place. And it's not just a plan because, for example, when people had plans and then suddenly COVID-19 hit, a lot of those people, they were like, oh my God, I have no idea what to do. But people who are like flexible, they just very quickly adjust their plans because this is called the planning process. I actually partly based the P part of that formula on the what's the called of that book? Sun Tzu. Oh my God, remind me.
The Art
The
of War.
correct, 100% correct. You see, I could see it, I couldn't say it
Yep.
because that's exactly what that book is saying. When you're on the field and on at war, you cannot just have a plan. You have to have a planning process in place because you have to observe, you have to watch very careful what's going on the field, what's the enemy is doing. So you have to be very careful at that planning process. And then we need to have systems. Like I run digital marketing agency. The simplest system for me to say is, for example, Google Ads or SEO. Those are the systems that are helping you even when you sleep to, for example, generate you leads or generate you potential clients.
So
So
Jake, sorry, I don't want to cut you off in
100%
your train of thought, but um, you said you run a digital agency right now,
correct.
and what's that called? What's the
It
name of
doesn't
it?
even have a name because we don't advertise. This agency is only by word of mouth. That's it.
And you mentioned SEO. So I worked at
Correct.
SEO.com 20 years ago, and I one of the businesses that I created is actually a marketing technology that's specifically for SEO agencies for link building. And so you obviously know what that means. I
Oh yeah.
don't think a lot of my listeners would know what that means. It's a very niche specific thing within SEO that if you know what SEO is and you are doing it, then you are also doing link building.
Oh, a lot.
Yeah. And so I own a news network of 260 plus websites that I operate and own myself. So as you can imagine, SEO agencies love working with me because I can help them publish a ton of content with links
Mm.
at scale. And
Yeah, links are very important.
yeah, and I do not want to go any more into talking about that because it's so niche. But we probably should talk after the podcast.
Maybe you should.
Yeah. Now, getting back to your GPS, the Vision GPS, you're talking about system. And were you finished with that train of thought? I just want to make sure I let you finish
Sure.
that.
Yeah. So now, so once you have everything, you have your vision, you've got the goals, you've got the planning process in place, and you've got the systems, that GPS will work exactly the same like the GPS in your car. You're putting the destination, your vision, you know where you're going, and then the GPS will just take you there. It's as simple as that, because if you have the vision GPS in place, the vision GPS helps you with the most important decisions in your life. Most people, they procrastinate on decisions because they have no idea where they're going. There's no destination. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Well, actually, you're going to drift for your entire life. But once you have the destination, you know how to make decisions, and you can make those decisions faster. Because I always explain to people, success, whatever it means for you, that for you, success is different for different people, but success like speed, and you have to make decisions, and you have to make those decisions faster, even if it's a wrong decision. I usually say to people, wrong decision is better than no decision.
Yep, I can agree with that for sure. So, how did you come up with this framework? You did mention The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and it you've got a ton of books in the background of your office right now. So I'm guessing you do a lot of reading and studying. And what have been some of the things that has influenced your framework? If there's anything that you want to call out specifically.
I remember, like, today I was working with one of my clients about 10 years ago, and he said something like, so we've been working on his vision. I don't want to go into details, but I was always big on vision. You have to have vision. You must know what you want, because if you don't know what you want, how are you going to get it? If you don't have the target, how can you hit the target if you can't see the target?
Yep.
And the person, he said something like, I wish I could have something that could navigate me towards my vision. And I was like a GPS, you mean? And he said, like, yes. And I was like, I can make this work. And then I had to sit down, and I was like, how can I make it work? G, goals. P, planning. S, systems. There we go. That's the whole point. And then obviously it came to me because I've done a lot of reading at the past. I'm a book guy. I love reading. I'm not saying that you have to read to be successful, but I also find out that leaders are readers. Um, at the same time, don't just read books, do what the book is saying. I'm an advocate who says it's better to read one book and just do what the book is saying, rather than keep reading and reading and reading and doing nothing.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. It wisdom is basically applied knowledge.
Mm,
So if we want to be wise, we do need to be reading. But
mm,
if we're never applying that knowledge, then we'll never have wisdom to then operate with fluency and fluidity in
mm,
changing circumstances.
mm.
And I literally just made that up off the top of my head. But I think if I were to put it more in layman's terms, knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a
Correct.
fruit, but wisdom is knowing that you don't put a tomato in a fruit salad.
That's 100% true.
Well, I'm glad I remembered something from my many books that I've read.
Yeah, but that's true. You know, I sometimes I hear from people saying like, "Oh, I have a lot of knowledge." Oh, that's cool, but knowledge is not power.
Nope.
Use of knowledge, that's power. If you're sitting on a lot of knowledge, it just doesn't mean anything, you know. Because if knowledge would be power, all the librarians, they would be rich, but they're not.
That's a good one. Yep. I know zero rich librarians,
Yeah, me too.
and I verified the truth of that statement.
Now, I've got one in my family, and she's my cousin. I love her so much, but unfortunately, she's not rich. But she is sitting on a lot of knowledge.
For sure. Yeah, That's really awesome. So what is your um, real biased opinion about education? Just first thing that pops into your head.
It depends what you mean by saying education,
What
because
do you
there's
think education means? Let's just go off of Jake's
because I think
opinion.
there are two types of education. There's a formal education and there's self-education. And sometimes I talk to people and I say, I've been studying psychology. And they would say, oh, so you've finished university? No, I'm a dropout. Oh, so you haven't studied psychology? No, no. Study means reading books and learning about, not necessarily finish university. And I don't want to brag, but I probably know more about psychology than an average psychologist with a degree. And I believe we should learn all the time, all the time. I've got another framework that I call no 0% days. When I say like you have to make progress every day of your entire life, no days off. And when I say like if you go on a vacation, doesn't mean that you just do nothing. Just read a book, watch something, listen to a podcast, even if it's 5 minutes a day. Do something, educate, learn. Especially today, there's so much knowledge, and it's so much easier today to make money, be rich, and be successful and be happy than 100 years ago. But at the same time, it's so easy not to do it.
Yeah, complacency kills so many dreams
Mm,
because it is so easy
very
to
easy.
find something that provides you a living and just to be okay with it for the rest of your life. But that that doesn't allow anyone to actually reach their full potential. And my strong belief is that God put us on this earth at this time of the world because we as a generation have a lot of potential. And I think there's a lot of forces, evil forces, that are trying to distract people from their potential. And a distraction could be anything as simple as scrolling on your phone for hours.
Could be.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing either. It's like, it's sort of neutral in terms of morality. But in terms of our progress and reaching our potential, it's hugely detrimental.
Mm. But at the end of the day, it's your decision.
Yep.
Are you going to scroll for 5 minutes or 50 minutes? Or are you going to focus on what you want to achieve? That's why you see that Vision GPS is so helpful, because at least you know what you want. When you have a clear vision of what is it that you want, distractions are not as shiny anymore, because you know that you're getting distracted. And when you have a Vision GPS, it's like playing a video game. You making progress, and you're making progress fast because you know what to do, you know where you're going, you know what is your goal, what is the planning process, and you have systems in place, and you're making progress. And when you're making progress, you are happy, because making progress is like probably the only thing that make us happy as human beings. And progress in any area of your life, going to the gym, working on your body, working on your relationship, building a business, church community, anything. If when you're making progress, you're happy. If you're not making progress, you're just not happy.
Yeah. And I got caught in a trap, and I think I've been in it for most of my life until just recently. I thought that progress was more of a linear progression, but I'm really starting to realize that it's more of like sort of a spiral form
Mm,
because you can go and progress and momentum can be measured in very small, minute amounts.
mm,
And as long as you are moving in a positive direction, you have to consider that progress and you have to
yes.
call it a win. And that's the reality. And I don't know if I'm the only one who does this. I suspect not. But if I wasn't making huge accomplishments regularly, and I'm talking like every single week, if not more often, I felt like a failure,
Hmm.
even though where I'm at right now compared to 10 years ago is so wildly different. I don't ever compare myself to 10 years ago, though. I compare
Yeah.
myself to yesterday. And that's actually a good and bad thing because if I look at yesterday and I see I made a ton of progress and I got a huge client, and then today, crickets, that to me feels like a failure.
Hmm. You see, and this is another big problem that especially entrepreneurs have. They want to win all the time.
Yep.
And don't take me wrong, I'm a winner. I love winning, but I also have to understand that, progress is not linear. It's like a sinusoid. It's up and down, it's up and down. Just make sure that you're making progress every day, even if it's like 1%, because 1% is still progress. A lot of entrepreneurs, they make this big mistake that they run and run and run, and they think like, oh my god, I'm not making any progress, because they like, yes, you do make progress, but you have to slow down from time to time, and as they say, smell the roses
Mm.
and measure that progress. And I was a victim of this myself. When I turned 30, I said to my family like, oh my god, I'm still at the very, you know at the very beginning. I haven't achieved anything. And then someone has to remind me like, what do you mean you haven't achieved anything? Building a non-profit organization from 2 volunteers to over 600 volunteers is nothing. It's like, well, no, it's not, but I want more. It's like, that's the problem. Be so grateful for what you already achieved, for what you already have, right? Slow down from time to time. Sometimes you have to take one step back to make another 3 steps forward, and just enjoy it. Don't be in the future all the time. Don't be in the past all the time either. Be here, enjoy it. This is so important. If
Yeah. This it sounds like you're passionate about talking about this subject,
Oh God,
as
I
am
can talk
I.
for hours.
We could for sure talk for hours. However, we just hit our limit, and I really enjoyed having you on. So I'm quickly going to say this has been the Vision with Execution show. Jake Smolarek has been my awesome guest today, and I do have to wrap up and say goodbye to everybody, but I'm gonna put out this episode hopefully today. It'll be on Spotify and YouTube, and I'm definitely gonna go back and watch it. So thanks again, Jake, for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.